All right. Welcome back to the Fireside PM podcast. Usually, I've been doing a lot of interviews with product leaders. I'm going to try a new format. You all can let me know if this is useful to you. But this is me kind of doing a bit of a deep dive discussion on a topic that hopefully will be interesting to product managers and product leaders out there. Just kind of reflecting on some of my experience over the last couple of decades shipping software products. And the question is, why are problem solving products so rare in technology? And when you hear that question, you're probably wondering, like, well, isn't this product 101? Like, you should build things that solve customer problems and start with the customer and work backwards. Think about what job the customer is hiring your product to do. And yet, you might be working on a feature or product right now that has kind of lost its way. And sadly, that's more common than not. And it's not because the PMs working on it or yourself are unaware of the importance of customers and solving problems for them. But what happens is there are these kind of gravitational pulls that slowly kind of pull you in different directions away from customers and away from their problems. So I'm going to describe 5 of them that you can be on the lookout for. And, if you're more aware of them and we can label them and think about them, intentionally, then hopefully you can also mitigate them. Maybe that'll be a topic for a future video if you guys find it interesting. So in no particular order, we'll use the factory terminology. The first one is that you sometimes can be in an organization where you become a technology factory. And, whether that's mobile or cloud or AI or social, like there's, some new thing that everybody's super excited about and rightfully will likely have huge impact on the industry and the world. And then you end up building these things that are kind of technologies in search of a customer problem. And you might start with like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? And in some ways, if you start a product statement with, wouldn't it be cool if, you kind of have to be careful because oftentimes that is code for, hey, I have a novel idea that uses and leverages this new capability, blockchain or crypto or ML or Gen AI, whatever it is. And now I'm going to think of an existing feature that's out there and make it a little better. But it doesn't start with the customer. The customer doesn't wake up every day saying, oh, I need a Gen AI solution to something. Now, the counterpoint to that is often, oh, well, if Henry Ford asked his customers what they would want, they would have told them a faster horse. And so, that is probably true. If he asked them like, oh, how can your horse be better? They would probably say, well, I want it to be faster. But on the other hand, if he asked them like, well, what do you use your horse for? And they would probably say like, well, I need to get from point A to point B. I need to move a bunch of cargo. I like to ride the horse fast. It's fun or whatever. And that would potentially open the door for kind of more creative ways to solve those problems. But definitely be on the lookout for being a tech factory. Especially as PMs, we work with engineers, and engineers naturally are tech enthusiasts. And they're They love new technology, the new framework, the new capability, the new language, whatever, new piece of hardware. Um, so Tech Factory is definitely something that can drag you away from the customer. And it doesn't happen for all of these kinds of gravitational pulls. They don't happen quickly. They kind of happen slowly. It's like a frog boiling in the water. And then you look up and it's like 2 years later and you're like, what problem is this thing really solving? So that's number one, Tech Factory. Second is a cousin, which is Feature Factory. And this is where like PMs are probably the biggest culprits here, where we're all about shipping and shipping new things and launching and launching and launching. And you could build a roadmap and a backlog that's taller than you are. And ultimately, it does result in you initially having some really cool feature ideas, and then you start having some P1s and then some P2s that get thrown in there. And before you know it, you got like dozens of these things that they don't really move the needle for anybody. They're not really that impactful, or they're not really solving a P0 customer problem. And so if you're not solving a P0 customer problem, then you probably don't have a P0 feature. So that's the Feature Factory. Then there's Design Factory, where you're like, hey, we have these amazing concepts, and this is where like really beautifully designed pitches can sometimes obviously tell a really great story, but you can fall in love with how cool and beautiful this thing is. And again, lose sight of the fact that, okay, is this a big enough problem for customers to solve? And is this thing solving it in a fundamentally different way beyond being really beautiful? Then there's the executive factory. So this is where, a very influential member of the senior leadership team is very enthusiastic about something. And, if you're not in a very intellectually honest, rigorous kind of culture, you could just go with it. And, we generally are a little bit less likely to push back. Like I'm sure people that reported to me in the past that they knew I was excited about something. It's a little harder to say like, hey, Tom, I know you're really stoked about this idea, which generally means like you're not going to give me as much grief if I build it, and you're going to be easier on me in the reviews, because you're kind of already pre-wired. But how do you make sure that that exec judgment is as honed as it can be and pressure tested as it can be? The last and fifth enemy of problem-solving products, is inertia or sunk cost factory, which is, hey, maybe something started out as a good idea. It rested on some assumptions. Those assumptions over time started to become less relevant or incorrect. But, the project's going on and there's some good feedback and there's a long backlog and we want to keep shipping. So I don't know how many projects I've seen where it takes like a reorg or a new person joining to kill the project, but everybody like agrees with it and there's no real debate. That's when like, wait a minute, if we're all in agreement that this should be killed and it just took someone to say it out loud, then we were probably the victims of inertia factory or sunk cost factory, for the last few months or however long the project had been going on. And so all of this could be offset and mitigated by always going back and talking to customers, understanding their needs, and probably holding your feature or product accountable for hitting customer numbers, whether it's CSAT or usage or even something closer to whatever aligns with the customer's own KPIs. But, we work in technology. And so it is always hard to not get super excited about a new technological trend or a new creative feature idea that some PM came up with that's, really inspiring and fresh, or a gorgeous design concept that came out of a, you know, ideation workshop, or an exec's, gut feel and advocacy, or the fact that something just been going on and it's more comfortable and less controversial to just keep doing it. But always go back to the fundamentals. Focus on the customer. Is this really solving a P0 problem for the customer? And is it solving it in a way that is fundamentally different than their current solutions? And is that superior solution worth the switching cost for the user? And if the answer is no, then, you know, you probably wouldn't fund that project with that information on day one. So why would you fund it now? Just because it's day 100 or day 1000. So easier said than done. We've all been there. But I thought I'd just give you a reminder that the universe conspires against building products that solve customer problems. And it's not because the team isn't really smart. It's just that the things that make great technology companies successful are also things that can be sirens and distract us from, really focusing on that North Star. So let me know what you think about why it's so hard to see more problems being solved out there by products. And let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the factors that I've called out. And also, if you find this format and type of content useful, do me a solid and feel free to like and share. And if you need any one-on-one coaching, or if your team needs some consulting, I'm happy to learn more about your situation and see if I can be helpful at tomleoncoaching.com. See you next time.